Welcome to the Therapy by Choice podcast, where we offer educational information on a variety of mental health topics. We speak to specialists in the field, and we answer your questions. My name is Robyne Vance. I'm an associate marriage and family therapist here at Therapy by Choice and your host for this podcast. Therapy by Choice is a private practice with offices located in San Jose and Palo Alto, California. At Therapy by Choice, we provide both in-person and virtual therapeutic services for individuals, couples, and families. People seek therapy for many reasons, whether you are a couple needing more insight into your relationship, a couple on the verge of breaking up, an individual who may be experiencing depression and anxiety or career changes, or families grieving the loss of a loved one or needing guidance. Here at Therapy by Choice, we are skilled and prepared to help in many areas. A listing of our specialties can be found at www.therapybychoice.com and click on Services. We do offer a free 15-minute consultation for you to speak with a therapist to see if therapy and the therapist are a fit for your needs. To speak with us to see how we can meet your needs, please call or text us at 408-786-9651. That's 408-786-9651. Or visit our website at www.therapybychoice.com, where you can read about our practice, the areas in which we offer services, and read about our staff. That's www.therapybychoice.com. Therapy by Choice, helping clients feel better. Welcome to the Therapy by Choice podcast. My name is Robyne Vance. Today's episode is going to be the first of many episodes where I focus on the topic of communication. Communication is not one of those topics that I can cover in just one episode because it is the bedrock and foundation of all relationships. In fact, if you listen to any episodes of this podcast, you've already been exposed to some form or concept of communication. In these episodes about communication, I'll be discussing both broad and finer aspects of communication, and I'll include practical and easy to implement tips and practices on how you, the listener, can work on improving your communication. In today's episode, we'll discuss why communication is so important, the four main styles of communication, examples of each, and again, I'll offer some practical, easy to implement tips on how you can start improving your communication. Now, as I've already mentioned, communication is the foundation for all relationships. We rely heavily on communication in both our personal and professional lives, and it serves to help us build relationships, deliver messages, resolve conflict, foster growth, and is how we express our feelings, wants, and needs. Effective communication, or clear communication, can serve as the base for things like trust and respect. Whereas poor communication or ineffective communication can lead to misunderstandings, missed opportunities, and disagreements, and can often be what ultimately negatively affects our relationships with others. As a therapist, I am aware that my thoughts on communication, and thereby my communication style, is shaped by a great deal of training in theory and practice, just as much as it is shaped by things like my core values and beliefs, my culture, and my upbringing. So to get some objective input, I asked a few people in my inner circle about their thoughts on communication. I wanted to know why they thought it was important to know what their style of communication is and how they convey their messages about their style of communication to others. One person told me it was important to know their style of communication because they don't want to have miscommunication or to be misunderstood. They also wanted people to know they come from an authentic and real place when they communicate, and they convey their style by incorporating it into conversation and will modify directness depending on the person or situation. The part about being misunderstood made a lot of sense to me. I mean, how often do we find ourselves advocating so righteously because we just want to be understood? I find that in the face of conflict, most people are just looking to be heard and validated. Now, another person I asked this question to asked me what I was up to and that I was asking a loaded question. But I gleaned from their response that it was important for them to have clarity when communicating, and they take into consideration factors that differ amongst individuals, such as generational differences and cultural influences. All that being said, what are communication styles? Now, communication styles are the different methods people use to convey their thoughts and engage with others, which include both spoken words and body language. There are four main styles of communication: assertive, passive, passive-aggressive, and aggressive. When you think of those four main styles, which do you immediately assign to yourself? And do you think of someone you know who may have a similar style or differing style than you? Now, of course, you may find that your style of communication varies depending on the environment, the person, or the people, or the relationship. For example, you may be aggressive at home, passive-aggressive at work, and passive with your friends. Our style of communication is shaped by many factors. Let's take a brief look into some of those factors. Personality. Personality traits including whether one is introverted or extroverted, their level of assertiveness, and their emotional expressiveness greatly influence communication styles. Cultural background, word choice, the degree of formality in communication, and both verbal and nonverbal behaviors are all influenced by cultural norms and values. Learned behaviors. A person's encounters and experiences throughout their life, such as those in social circles, the workplace, and family dynamics, frequently influence their communication style. Context and environment. The context, the individuals engaged, and the type of communication tool used, such as in-person conversations, emails, or social media, can also affect how a person expresses themselves. Social roles and gender. Social roles and gender norms still influence how we communicate, although these influences are becoming more varied and flexible. Emotions and perception. A person's communication style may be more or less direct, assertive, or passive depending on their emotional state and how they view a situation. Verbal and nonverbal communication. A person's way of communicating includes not just the words they choose, but also their nonverbal signals, including body language, facial expressions, and the tone in which they speak. One of the very first things I do with any of my clients, whether they come in as an individual or as part of a couple, is to help them discover what their style of communication is. Your style of communication is how you convey your feelings and emotions and how you talk to and interact with others. And it's also your way of expressing yourself both directly and indirectly. Now, I am going to explain these styles of communication in an easily digestible way, and then I'll offer a little detail on each as well. A reminder, the four main styles of communication are assertive, passive, passive-aggressive, and aggressive. Assertive, I win, you win. Passive, you win, I lose. Passive aggressive, I lose, you lose. Aggressive, I win, you lose. Now that you've heard the 4 styles, take a few moments and now think about what style of communication you attribute to yourself. And a reminder to think about the differences that may exist in your style depending on the setting and on the people. Let's take a further look into what these styles actually mean and how they may show up. Assertive, I win, you win. An assertive communicator can clearly, directly, and respectfully express their needs and opinions while still being able to listen to others and consider their needs and opinions. Assertive is the preferred style of communication across both personal and professional domains. This type of communication can be exhibited by someone being honest and direct, being respectful of others, and differing thoughts and opinions, active listening, direct eye contact, facing others when speaking, and having an open and relaxed posture. Passive, you win, I lose. Passive communicators avoid conflict and avoid directly and openly expressing their needs. They prioritize the needs, wants, and feelings of others above their own, and this is often done at the cost of their own happiness. Passive communication can sometimes lead to people being taken advantage of by others. This type of communication can be exhibited by submissive body language and behaviors such as difficulty maintaining or avoiding eye contact, speaking softly or hesitantly, having a difficult time saying no, and excessive apologizing. Passive aggressive, I lose, you lose. Passive aggressive communicators indirectly express their negative feelings like anger or frustration instead of addressing them directly. These feelings are often expressed through insults, sarcasm, and sometimes just ignoring the other person. This type of communication can be exhibited by complaining, shifting blame, and making excuses. Nonverbal cues include sighing, eye-rolling, texting, or being engrossed in something else while someone else is speaking. And one classic feature of passive-aggressive communication is the silent treatment. Aggressive, I win, you lose. Aggressive communicators prioritize their own needs over the needs of others, often in attacking and dominant ways, and with inappropriately honest words and statements. This type of communication may be exhibited by the person being loud, critical, demanding, and blaming, using insults, dominating and interrupting conversations, and by using body language such as finger pointing and invading personal space in an effort to intimidate the other person. Now, it's safe to say that we've all engaged in at least 2 or more of these styles of communication in our lifetimes. Let's do a quick exercise. I want you to take a moment and listen to the following 4 statements about a mushroom pizza I'm thinking about ordering with some colleagues and match them to the correct communication style. Keep in mind, assertive, I win, you win. Passive, you win, I lose. Passive aggressive, I lose, you lose. Aggressive, I win, you lose. Statement number 1. I'd love to get a pizza with cheese and mushrooms, but I know you're not a big fan of mushrooms on your pizza. How about we order a half-half pizza? Statement number 2. I'm actually really allergic to mushrooms, but it's okay. I'll just pick them off. Statement number 3. What kind of weirdo likes mushrooms on pizza? Ugh. But I guess if that's what you like. Statement number 4. Nope, I don't eat mushrooms. I don't like them, so I'm just going to order cheese, and if you don't like it, just eat what you bought for lunch. I hope you are able to easily identify which statement belongs to what communication style. Let's go over those. Statement number 1. I'd love to get a pizza with cheese and mushrooms, but I know you're not a big fan of mushrooms on your pizza. How about we order a half-half pizza? This statement is assertive. The speaker addresses their own needs while considering the needs of others. I win, you win. Statement number 2. I'm actually really allergic to mushrooms, but it's okay, I'll just pick them off. This statement is passive. The speaker defers their own needs at the cost of themselves. After all, they're willing to risk an allergic reaction rather than expressing their needs. You win, I lose. Statement number 3. What kind of weirdo likes mushrooms on pizza? Ew. But I guess if that's what you like. Did you guess what style is at play here? I bet you did. Passive aggressive. In this statement, the speaker not only negatively expresses their thoughts, but they also hit back with a biting, insulting comment. I lose, you lose. Statement number 4. Nope, I don't eat mushrooms. I don't like them, so I'm just going to order cheese, and if you don't like it, just eat what you bought for lunch. This statement is aggressive. The speaker dominates the conversation and the choice. I win, you lose. As you probably have gleaned from what you've heard so far, assertive communication is the preferred style of communication across all settings because it's the most balanced and effective form of communication and helps foster problem-solving and respectful dialogue. But how can you start the work to implement this into your everyday interactions? As a reminder, in assertive communication, we stand up for our own needs and beliefs, all the while also respecting the needs of others. We can do this by using an appropriate volume when speaking to others, having a steady tone while speaking, having confident body language, maintaining eye contact, having appropriate facial expressions, listening without interrupting, and clearly stating our wants and needs. Studies by Pippas and Jaredad in 2010 and Bishop in 2013 show that assertive communication has many proven benefits, including greater self-awareness, a more positive self-image, an increased likelihood of finding positive solutions, greater self-confidence, higher self-esteem, more respect for others' opinions and viewpoints, greater self-control, more effective communication skills, higher self-respect, increased ability to avoid interpersonal conflicts, greater self-disclosure, reduced anxiety, greater self-worth, reduced likelihood of being exploited or coerced, an enhanced ability to control stress, reduced depression, stronger relationships, and better health. In assertive communication, above all, we respect ourselves and remember that our wants and needs and feelings are just as important and valid as anyone else's. So we can express what we want so long as we remain respectful to the rights of others to do the same. Now, let's take a look at an example of assertive communication, and this time we're taking a page from real life. My life. Recently, I experienced a dread many of us have, a flat tire. Now, I have a great many of skills and tools and things I'm good at in life. But when it comes down to anything related to fixing, assembling, or anything car related, that's not my area of expertise and is actually a source of immediate crisis for me. I'll also be discussing more about the story as related to crisis in a future episode. This past weekend, I went out to find my rear passenger tire was flat. I looked for visible damage, a nail, a rib, etc., but I didn't see anything. I took my car to the local gas station and put a bit of air in it, which was about a 10-minute ordeal for me, but nonetheless, I got it done and was on my way to start my day of seeing clients. When I came out to check the tire between seeing clients, I found that there was a large tear in the tire. I remembered about 2 years ago I had purchased 4 new tires, and I looked in my car's glove box and found the paperwork along with information on what appeared to be a warranty. I quickly glanced over the paperwork, and on the outset, it did appear my tires were still under warranty based on the mileage. Optimistic, I called the shop, a well-known national automotive store, to see if they were able to pull up my warranty information. Since I was done with my day, I also started driving in the direction of the store, which was only about 2 miles from where I was located. The person who answered the phone sounded like he was trying to do 1,000,001 things at one time, and he wasn't really paying much attention to what I was saying. I mean, my call was simple. I purchased tires a few years ago, and now one is flat, and I believe I have a warranty. The gentleman put me on hold for nearly 15 minutes before coming back to the phone. Luckily, I have years of call center and customer service experience at my disposal, so patience is a skill I possess in droves. By the time the gentleman came back to the phone, he had completely forgotten what he was speaking to me about and didn't even seem to remember our conversation. I reminded him the reason for my call, but I advised I was already pulling up to the store and he agreed to meet me outside. Great, I thought. When he came outside, I had my paperwork from the previous purchase and was standing by the rear passenger tire, which visibly had a sizable tear on the sidewall. By the way, thanks to Google for assist in identifying which part of the tire was affected, as I had been calling it the outside thingy part. Anyways, I calmly explained to the gentleman what I was seeking. My tire is torn, and I need to get it replaced. Simple and solution-focused, right? Wrong. Without even acknowledging the obvious elephant in the room, a tire with a great big tear, the gentleman started using mechanic speak with me and asking me questions that seemed irrelevant to the problem at hand. He started walking around the car, looking at all the tires except the torn one and measuring them with a small device. He then launched into asking me questions like, do I drive on the streets or do I take the freeways? What time of day do I mostly drive? Have I taken the car to another state? And then showing me device and numbers he wrote down as if they were to make sense to me. He then talked about the vehicle's alignment and was speaking very fast and using a lot of mechanic language, and had started talking about needing to do a diagnostic on the vehicle's alignment and trying to tell me that a flat tire with a tear had something to do with alignment. I remember in my mind thinking, does he not clearly see the tear in the tire? I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone at that point. But I continued making earnest attempts to redirect him to actually look at the problem at hand. But I was having little luck, and I started to feel discouraged and possibly resigned to sinking a few $100s into a solution. Now, Here's where style of communication plays a key role. When faced with this would-be mechanic's aggressive communication, my immediate instinct was to become passive. Now that's with good reason. Cars are not an area I have much expertise in, and what little I did have was not useful in this situation. Let's recall those factors we discussed earlier and see what may have been at play here. Personality. In my everyday life, I'm an extroverted person. Represented with my limited knowledge about my car, I became introverted. Cultural background. Nothing to note here. Learned behaviors. Still, not much to note here, although I'm sure my father, who is listening, probably would have a bit to say about me calling parts of my car the thingy, as opposed to having some basic knowledge about my vehicle. Context and environment. I did the first part of the interaction over the phone, but then switched to in person, neither of which seemed to be effective. Social roles and gender. This perhaps was the biggest factor at play, although I would like to think it wasn't. The use of the gentleman's confusing language and fast-paced speech made me feel like he was trying to take advantage of the fact that I was a woman and thinking I didn't have enough know-how to speak about the topic. Emotions and perception. It was clear from my interaction that this gentleman was also just not having a good day. Verbal and nonverbal communication. The choice of tone and use of words were greatly at play here. He was very non-expressive, did a lot of pointing, and wrote down things that made no sense to me. Back to the communication style. His aggressive communication conveyed the message of, I win, you lose. And my instinct to be passive was going to convey the message of, I lose, you win. But what I did know is I had a problem and it had a solution. And within the first 5 minutes of that interaction, I was able to quickly shift gears and fall into assertive communication. And I did it so easily, I actually ended up shocking myself. I steadied my tone as it had become soft, and I straightened my back. And I said, I'd really like it if we could address and focus on the crisis and problem at hand, which is the rear passenger tire. Could you tell me how we could go about replacing the tire and whether I am able to use the warranty? Now, when my assertive communication still failed, that's when I asked to speak with a service manager, who upon meeting me, apologized for my experience. And as a sidebar, I did have to resist the urge to excuse the would-be mechanic's poor service as him having a hard day. The service manager clearly understood my request and had me out of the store in a little over an hour and even threw in a discount. Now, had I been passive with my communication, there's a great chance I would have left that store with a bigger hole in my pocket and with no one second-guessing my choice to perhaps replace 4 tires or to submit to an expensive diagnostic. The assertive communication I used conveyed the message that I win, you win. I got my tire changed, and they got a small sale and a happy and potentially loyal customer. So how do we start implementing ways towards effective and assertive communication? We do this by assessing our style, using I statements, practice saying no, rehearsing what we are going to say, utilizing our body language, keeping emotions in check, and my personal favorite, starting with small steps. Let's take a look at each of these tips. Number 1, assess your style. Do you speak up or do you keep quiet? Do you accept more work even when you have a full schedule? Are you afraid to place blame or pass judgment? Does speaking with you seem to make people nervous or afraid? Recognize your style before you start adjusting it. Step 2. Use I statements. You can communicate your thoughts and feelings to people without coming across by accusing by using I statements. Say, I disagree, for example, instead of saying, you're wrong. I would like to help you with this is a better way to phrase a request than, you need to do this. Make sure your requests are clear, concise, and explicit. Step 3. Practice saying no. You could find it difficult to decline requests, so try saying, no, I can't do that right now. Keep in mind, saying no is a complete phrase, and you don't have to justify your decision. Don't think twice, be straightforward. Provide a succinct explanation if one is necessary. Step 4. Rehearse what you say. Practice the words you intend to use. Rehearse common situations you come across that you find difficult to express what you want or think. Out loud what you want to say. To practice from a script, it could also be beneficial to write it out first. Think about role-playing with a friend or coworkers and getting candid feedback. Step 5. Utilize your body language. Remember, not all communication is verbal. Even if you don't feel confident, project confidence. Lean forward slightly while maintaining an upright posture. Maintain consistent eye contact. Keep your expression neither neutral or upbeat. Avoid crossing your arms or legs. Turn to face the individual. With a friend or coworker or in front of a mirror, practice using assertive body language. Your facial expressions and body language are just as significant as your words. Step 6. Keep emotions in check. Most people find conflict difficult. You may become irate or frustrated, or you may want to cry. Despite being normal, these emotions can obstruct conflict resolution. Try to wait a little while before entering a situation if you are feeling overly emotional. Next, practice staying composed. Take slow breaths, be firm and even in your voice. Step 7, my favorite, start small. Start by using your newly acquired abilities in low-risk scenarios. Before handling a challenging situation at work, for example, practice being assertive with a friend or partner. After the fact, assess yourself and modify your strategy as necessary. Naturally, the discussion on communication is just getting started with this episode. Therapy can be used to begin the more extensive work and discussion on communication. Therapy can help by assisting individuals, couples, and families in understanding their communication patterns, identifying underlying problems, and learning more effective ways to express themselves and engage with others. A trusted professional can greatly improve your communication skills. A therapist can offer a space free from judgment and unbiased feedback, and there are numerous therapeutic approaches, exercises, and techniques aimed at enhancing relationships and interactions with others through communication. Well, I want to thank you for joining me for this episode of the Therapy by Choice podcast. Don't forget to like and share this podcast, and feel free to reach out if you have a question or if you would like to see a specific topic covered. You can text us at 408-786-9651 or email us at robyn@therapybychoice.com. That's Robyn, ROBYNE, @therapybychoice.com. Also, visit our website at www.therapybychoice.com. My name is Robyne Vance. Take good care. While we hope to provide insight and education, our podcast does not replace therapy, and listening to our podcast does not establish a therapeutic relationship. If you or someone you know are in crisis, please call the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988.